Well, welcome to our 2025 summer garden tour. So we're going to take you through the garden here and look at everything. We're mainly going to look at the hardy palms, and we'll go over the names of everything, and we'll mention a little about each one time. Like if we have more than one thing, we'll just go over it the first time. And we're mainly going to mention the plants here that are hardy, that are come back. We'll show the names of some of the other plants that we have that don't come back. We have a few of those around in the yard, but the majority of things we have will come back here in Zone 7B. We're in Tennessee, and if you don't know, you can look back at some of our other videos. Some of the palms get a little protection, and most of the tropical plants don't get any protection over the winter besides some mulch. But we'll take a look and go through everything here today and see how it's going. So let's get started. And so first off, here in the back we have one of our windmill palms. This is a Trachycarpus fortunei, and these are hardy, leaf hardy down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And we have a lot of videos on our channel about these. And these are a very good palm. They're generally hardy in about zone 8A is generally where they're fully hardy. And if you go through here, some of our older videos, the zones changed on us a year or so, a little bit more ago. And so about a lot of the zones went up a half zone. So if you see in this video that we've changed some of the zone ratings a little bit, we're going on the new zone ratings that are out. And so especially here in the southeast United States, a lot of people went from we went from zone 7A to 7B. And so that's some of the reason for some of that difference. It's kind of annoying because it's still kind of the same temperatures, and that's kind of what we were going by before, the reason we were using the other zone ratings. But anyway, if that makes sense. We'll look here, and as we go down here at the bottom, down the bottom of a lot of the palms and different things, we have these Christmas ferns. These stay green all year round for us. And they're one of the hardiest things you can have. And we'll talk about this a little later, but down at the bottom of a lot of the plants here, we have a lot of just extra palms, and these are real good for just greenery to put around is what I use them for, because we have so many palms. So there's just a Sabal minor. We'll talk about those a little bit here when we get a bigger one. And just like another small little fortunei. I think that's a cross there. We have our ground cover back here. Unfortunately, it's not blooming right now. It blooms several times a year. This is speedwell. Makes a nice blue flower. Just gets very thick in here. And I like to use it instead of having to remulch this area all the time. It stabilizes this area through here and makes a good cover for us. And here we have basically my favorite Canna Lily. And we'll put a link in the description down there for our Canna Lily guide. But Canna Lilies are basically very good tropicals to put out. I believe they're from Africa, and they good and hardy usually through about zone 6 and up, especially zone 6 through 8. They're really good. They have a little bit of pest problem, something called canna leaf rollers like them. But beyond that, the good thing is they bloom all summer, all the way until September or later here. And So you can't hardly beat them. A lot of plants you get, bloom just for a very short time period, but generally these canna lilies, they like the heat, and they're very drought tolerant, heat tolerant. They don't seem to mind that at all. And there's all types of different colors and varieties, and especially you get these tropical looking colors with the canna lilies. Yellows and oranges is what I like, and I think that's the most tropical. And of course they have the reds and all types of different colors of these. And the best thing about a lot of them is the foliage itself is nice and pretty. And a lot of times what happens is these overgrow a lot of times during the summer. So if one gets where it's bloomed completely out, you just the bulbs just spread at the bottom like crazy. So you just cut the one that's bloomed completely out all the way to the bottom, and usually another one will come up by late summer. And if you've seen anything about us here, you know that we have bamboo in several pots. This is Butia, and we put this in pots to keep it. If we put this in the ground, it would go completely wild on us and spread into all these other areas. We have irrigation, different things in here that it can't spread into. But you can get, the good thing about when you put it in pots, it gets real thick because it doesn't have anywhere to go. You always want to use a running bamboo in your pot. That way it gets good and thick as fast as possible. So we have two types of bamboo here, which is the Butia, and the other type is it has a stripe down the canes, like a green stripe. It's called spectabilis. And as we take a look here, we're going to take a look at our Sabal palmetto. These are more suited, like the Trachycarpus fortunei, to zone 8A, and they hardy down to about 10 degrees, 10 or 12, till they start taking some frond damage. And mature specimens with full trunks can take, especially some colder temperatures, especially if they're in a hot, sunny zone like around Atlanta or something like that. They can take down to the single digits, maybe take some damage, but they'll live through it. So they're real good palm, especially for about Atlanta and south. And so you see this one's starting to get pretty big. It's got a really large frond here. And it's sometimes hard to see, but the fronds are really starting to get a big curve. And this frond is actually about 5 feet across from tip to tip over there. And so it's getting pretty big. The trunk is about over a foot tall at this point, and starting to get to be a fairly large trunk down here. It's about 10 inches maybe wide at the bottom there. And so we'll have to protect this when it gets really cold. Over at the far side over there, we'll do a close-up. But we also have our Oriental lilies. They come back every year. You can see they're blooming like crazy. And we also have something here. We'll go ahead and show you. I've got a bigger one in a few places, but these are Pharaoh's mask, elephant ear that comes from Brian's Botanicals. He did that cross and put a trademark on the name there. And but it's a pretty elephant ear that comes back year after year. No protection for us there. And so that's pretty much the plants in this area. And in this area here, we have our pitcher plants. And a lot of people do a lot better job at these than we do, but we've got them in a little area here. I just put down some landscape fabric in about a 8-inch little hole and filled it with mainly some peat and some, we put a little bit of more drainage material in the peat. And I don't know, they do halfway good and they come back. They're hardy here and seem to catch a lot of bugs. They're coming up quite a bit now. I got these little small ones. I think there was 3 or 4 different varieties in here. I don't know, I'll have to look back to see what those are, but we got all these from Plant Delights, and these big ones here are doing pretty well. But I don't know a whole lot about those, but they're a pretty good little addition to our garden here. Back over here we have one of our little bit larger dwarf sable miners, and this particular one here, I believe we got it from Plant Delights too. It may be called a Blountstown dwarf as well, and it's a little bigger than our other ones though. This one's about, I think it's getting about 2.5, 3 foot tall, and but quite a bit smaller than you'll see compared to our other palms that we have around. And back in this area we have our brazoriensis. This is a Sabal brazoriensis. We just did a video on it to show the origins where these come from. These come from a place mainly down in Brazoria County, Texas, and they're a cross between a Sabal palmetto and a Sabal minor. And you're always, or at least the botanists say, that the bloom stalk here goes to at least about the tips of the fronds or barely beyond it or below. And you see this frond we have on here is goes quite a bit below the fronds, and it's not a very profuse bloomer there. It's just bloomed 1 or 2 little bloom stalks there. And you can see this one's starting to get a little bit of a trunk down there at the bottom. Get that out of your way there. Let's see where you can see. There's the trunk there. Little bit, not too much. But you know, you got something different than a Sabal minor for sure when you don't have that large arching bloom stalk on a young palm that goes way beyond the fronds. If you have that, you almost certainly have some sort of minor or hybrid. And but anyway, that's our brazoriensis. And here we have one of our favorite viewer favorite palms. This is our Sabal Louisiana, and this palm is good to about 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Not quite as hardy as the Sabal minor. Almost anything, when you go beyond the Sabal minor into a hybrid or any of the other Sabals, you're not going to be as hardy as those. The Sabal minor are the toughest of the bunch. But this is still considered a Sabal minor, just a very large variant. And for us, it grows quite larger and grows about twice as fast. That's one reason to get it. And most people have these fronds that get so large they seem to droop, flop over here. And that's one sign that you might have a Louisiana. And of course the other sign, I don't know if you can see it, we may have to do another shot to get them in the shot, but we have a inflorescence, a bloom that's, I don't know, it's like about 11 feet tall, I believe, up here. And this one has a little bit more costopalmate fronds, especially at this size, than the regular minor. They're never going to get the costopalmate like the Sabal palmetto, and you're going to know it's still a minor because of the large bloom stalks, and you're not going to see many fibers, and the trunk's got to look quite a bit different. The trunk's going to kind of spread out at the bottom and not come straight up vertically. But these grow about 6 or more fronds per year, where the minors grow like 3 or 4. So you know, all these love full sun and lots of water. And one like this, unlike that brazoria, this one puts out, we've already cut several of them because I don't like them hanging over the concrete here, but this one puts out about 7 bloom stalks every year, something like that. And so much more aggressive than the Sabal minors and much larger. Well, hey, if you can see me over here, this is by one of our largest windmill palms. This is one we call the Rocket. This is our fastest growing palm. And this one we put out, you can look back at one of the videos, it grew from a pretty small palm in just about 6 or 7 years to this size, and really likes this spot. And the windmill palms like this, we have them, I like to classify them in kind of 2 different types, and this is not any real technical term, just the floppy fronds, and some of them have the stiffer fronds even in these windmill palms. And we'll talk about another different species or whatever of a Trachycarpus that has for sure the stiff fronds. But anyway, these, as you can see here, as I'm looking down at my phone just to make sure I'm in the photo here, this palm's getting pretty big. I'm going to pan up a little bit for it. There you go, and you can see it there. There you can see the large bloom stalk on the Louisiana. Let me go over here and point it out. Of course, you can see it. You can see me beside it here, how tall it is, that one. You can also see, even though it's the Louisiana's in the closer to you, makes it look a little bigger. But here is, you can see me beside it, the size. This is a normal size kind of sable miner that's planted about the same time. And these sable miners, like we were going to talk about, we've cut the blooms off of them. This one, blooms out the front here. This is what some of the blooms look like. You can see it's quite a bit taller than the fronds. Here's the fronds. Here's the bloom, several feet taller. And the blooms on these are always going to be very kind of bushy and spread out. But this sable miner can take temperatures down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And since the growing point of these palms is always underground, they're very hard to kill. And so you can grow these in zone 6, and even if it does kill the fronds, they will come back from that. They probably wouldn't like to have many years of that in a row. So if you're on zone 6, you probably need to plant them in a protected spot, like up against the south side of your house. And especially now with the zone change, these are more rated, I would say, a 6B. Before the zone change, it was 6A. And so we have another video, like a bunch of these things, where you can look and see. I'll put it in the links for the guide to sable miner, and it also has a map that shows you where you can grow these. But sable miners, they'll eventually, over a long period of time, form a little trunk, and some of them out in the wild over 20 or 30 years or more can form a couple feet of trunk or more. But in general, they're not going to have a trunk. And so there's generally a dwarf size. I just put them into 3 different sizes, which is kind of up to 2 to 3 feet tall. There's this medium regular size like this one, which is gets in the 4, 5 to 7 feet tall. Of course, as they keep growing over many years, they can get even taller. Even the regular ones can get in the best location up to 8, 9, 10 feet tall. And there's the larger varieties like the Sabal Louisiana up in the front there that can get quite a bit taller, as they can have trunks that can be 2 or 3 foot tall. So anyway, there's that area. And here's a look at one of our other Canna Lilies here. This one's called Lemon Punch. And of course, there's a lot of different varieties of Canna Lily. And this one blooms like all the other ones year round, and one of my wife's favorites. And it has these like arching type blooms. Not all of them have that, and they just keep falling off. You just keep, every time you have one of these that has blooms that are finished, just cut them off and it'll come back. If you ever get a stalk that's completely done, just cut it down to the ground. But anyway, we've got a few sable miners in this area as well. Cordyline back here that's not liking life very good. I'm not sure what's wrong with it. We've tried a few different things. I don't know if it just doesn't like the full sun or what there. And over here we have probably our second largest Trachycarpus fortunei, and this is, you can see, he's a little bit more stiffer fronds than the rocket palm that we showed you just a little bit earlier. And I can just barely get it in the camera frame. I got the camera back quite a ways to get this one. And you can see it's got about a, I'm not sure how tall the trunk is on that. We're gonna have to do a video, but it's grown a lot over the years. And this is one of my favorite palms. And you know, it's gotten very thick. When a palm's very happy, it'll retain its fronds down real low. Some of these have been a little hurt by the cold over this past winter or two, but the tips of them hit some stuff and got a little burnt. But this palm has done really well. We hope to keep it around for quite a ways. And you can see the size of some of the palms beside it here. We have this Sabal minor beside it. You can see quite a bit of a size difference. And this is one thing I like to do, is put the Sabal minors at the 2 or 3 at the base of a windmill palm, the Trachycarpus fortunei. And as the palm grows up, these form your greenery at the bottom, because eventually this will get where there's no fronds down here. And if you're wanting to see a lot of pretty green, you want this area at the bottom filled up with green, and you want the area at the top filled up with green. That's just kind of some of your basic landscaping strategy. So you can put these Sabal minors about 2 or 3 feet from the bottom of your windmill palm, and it makes a good look. Well, that's it for part 1. Check back next week and we'll do part 2 of this garden tour. And make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll keep doing these videos. And here's a preview of one of the things you'll see next week. This Butia. See you later, everybody.